we try to implement natural systems into our buildings. This is now a fairly complicated subject because architecture is first and foremost expression of some cultural background, and in different areas you see this evolving of architecture in terms of some culture, some symbols that you can see in buildings, some symbols that are created with the culture that's surrounding that building. We believe that nature is something that is common to all of us, no matter where you live, no matter what the cultural surrounding is. And we try to, over the years, we looked in a lot of systems like this, and we try to implement them in these buildings, because those are normally quite simple mathematical, not simple, but quite figurable mathematical algorithms then you can use in your buildings. Let's say we have repetition, we have organic repetition, which means repetition with some ability to adapt to irregularities. This is common in nature. Or we have this is going to be too philosophical, but this is probably what you can see in what people call our style, because you see that we try to implement systems in our buildings, and we try to invent a system which is complex enough to answer all the questions that the building poses. We try to, on one point, try to figure out the best functional scheme of the building, the ideal functional scheme of the program we have in our minds, and on the other hand, we try to separately do the best positioning in the space that we are confronted with. You know, where is the sun, where you have views, where stuff like this, and we try to evolve both those subjects as long as we can separately. And when we are satisfied, we put them together, and of course nothing fits. And then we search where is the biggest mistake, what is the worst confrontation that comes out of two, and then we start again from that point. Because we try to embrace mistakes. We think this is what nature does best. It tried to look smaller than it actually is, and this was the first and the one milestone we were always trying to keep in our minds, and we achieved this by not just simply, and it stands. You have this spa resort, which is surrounded with the buildings, and on center you have pools basically, and there was one gap in this between two existing hotels by the forest. Behind this spa resort there is forest, and this new building, this quite big new building, was supposed to be set on the edge of this forest. So it should be built. Another wall should be built, which in our minds would cover the view to the forest, which is the main feature around there. Completely. So what we decided, we cut this one single volume in many volumes, and we spread them down the slope, because fortunately we have a slope there and we can make use of out of terrain. So these volumes are now in perspective view, because of course obviously you're viewing from the ground. These volumes are now covering each other. We lowered if you imagine the square building being built on the terrain, what we did, we lowered the extreme parts, the extreme edges of the building to the ground, and we covered the building with the grass. So basically it comes out of the terrain, it goes fluently, also makes some internal edges to come closer to the surrounding building scale, and then goes back into the ground. So you have these grass waves coming out of the grounds, which are placed in front of each other. Now you have grass beneath it and grass over it, so somehow it is caught in between. And we also wanted to cut the building with the nature also in the other way. So let's say we have this double layered facade. First layer is original facade. The second layer are timber frames, timber beams, vertical timber beams on the facade, which are left. They are not covered with any protective fluid or anything, so they are left to be aged by the weather. Now they are to some point, and those elements are there because we want to also intertwine this feeling with the tree trunks behind the building. So we have building caught in this direction between grass fields and in this direction between tree trunks. So we try to, it is from that point on, it is just the way of visualizing this feeling you want to achieve, this attraction or this concept you want to get through. And this is where projects differ between each other. To the concept phase, there it is fairly common idea. There is a lot of situations in space where you want to combine the nature and the building. Investor came to us and said, I see that you believe in this approach, but I'm not believing it yet, because where will my guests take pictures? Come on, in front of the entrance you have to be this big building behind you with a sign, and you say, I was there in Hotel Sotelia and this is my picture of this. And we came from these different positions, but somehow it was completely based on trust, I believe, because somehow they believed this story of ours and now they embraced it already. They wanted big buildings, we wanted to have big buildings that looked like small ones. But when we overcame that, it was basically just normal dispute. They wanted to get as much as they can for as little money as they can, and we have to provide this, because the original aim, you must know that those projects are not actually in terms of budget, there are mid-range or lower mid-range projects. Those are not exclusive projects made out of exclusive materials. It is all made out of very simple materials and details, but they are combined in a bit of more refreshing way.